Hello, good evening, everyone. Today we are in another episode of Economics Podcast, and we have with us Dr. Saptarshi Mukherjee. He is an associate professor at IIT Delhi. He has done PhD from ISI in game theory. We welcome to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Today we discuss how game theory can be helpful tool to strategize in e-commerce. Sir, we would like to begin by discussing the initial part of what exactly is game theory and how it can play a role in e-commerce.
Yes, so game theory as such, I think we were discussing about it before we began formally, that it has a very widespread set of applications, and much of it has been theoretical so far, has been limited to academia. But obviously, some of it is coming to the focus and also coming to the public knowledge, in the sense that, when we are going out to buy certain things, right, or we are making some decisions, let's say who to vote for, right, or even if you're deciding that how to spend the weekend, right, or what should be the next trip for our family, every time, whenever there is some decision making coming up, there is game theory underlying, and it's playing somewhere or the other, because whenever I'm choosing some action or I'm choosing some decision, I'm making some decision, it's not really independent of other people, right? So for example, if I want to buy a piece of apparel, people might just think that, okay, this is my decision, my action, I'm deciding, but there's a major influence of, let's say, my friends, family members, or others, the peers, right? So in that way, when I do something, when I choose something, I cannot really say that, it's completely my preference, my taste, or, what I like or dislike, that is reflecting in that action, right? Several other people are there who I am actually taking into account in making this decision, right? So this becomes very prominent when you go to e-commerce, right? So basically the idea is that when you go for online shopping, you buy something. Again, one might just wonder that, okay, it's me who is buying it, and I'm just going to Amazon or eBay and just selecting something that I'm going to buy. Is it only me who is taking this call? Probably not. Obviously, I am making the final call, but what is influencing me is a bunch of factors. What kind of factors? The most unknown factor here, or what is the hidden one, is the set of algorithms which are actually going on behind the game, right? They are actually playing the game with me. The companies are playing the game with me. Right, so the moment I am opening Amazon portal or eBay portal, all my search history, they are being tracked, right? Every time I go to the portal, what alternatives, what options I am going for, how much time I am spending on each and every option, everything is being recorded. Everything is going to my cache data, right? And that is being analyzed. Well, you might just wonder that if it's a game between 2 or 3 people, I am one, of course, I am playing the game, or the other people, they are no human beings. And here is the beauty of game theory. It doesn't have to be played only amongst human beings. Here, who is playing the game with me? It's the algorithm. It's basically the online algorithm, right? So you may see very trivial example, like if you just keep on searching on airfare, right, randomly at some point of time, on some particular time of the day, then maybe after some time you will see that the price is shooting up. It's probably just because of you searching again and again from a particular login ID. It's shooting up because the underlying algorithm is realizing that there is a high demand, right? So they have already started playing the game with you. But that's very easy to understand. Where the crux lies is the following. As consumers, whenever we want to buy something, these retailers, online retailers, basically not again the human beings, what is representing them is the online algorithm. They are trying to understand our preference, what we actually want to buy, and what tempts us. Right, so please understand that what I want to buy may not be something what they want to sell.
True.
Right, so they are trying to play that game with me so that I am allured, I am tempted, I am kind of keen to buy something what they want to sell me, or they want to try to sell it at a price which is customized for me, and I'll just fall into the trap and buy that. Right, and what are the factors which are coming into this game? The temptation, allure, right? Various kinds of attention things, right? They are trying to give us all sorts of temptation, right? And all those things, if you are building into the system, it's basically a game between me on a platform designed by some algorithm, all of those retailers which we are playing.
Got it.
Now, probably the most important example of this is the online competition. This is something which is a bit worrisome, or the economists are a bit worrisome about it. So economics, one of the major objectives has always been how to design a market which is fair or which is maximizing the social welfare. So if social welfare is a technical term to understand, it's nothing but which maximizes the welfare of the society. Like everybody's utility, just sum it up and maximize that, right? So that there is a parity, right? Now imagine a situation where there are 2 or 3 online portals and I am just visiting them to buy a flight ticket or something like that, and they are actually colluding with each other, and there is hardly any competition. What is happening is that if there is a competition, then definitely it's going to be good for me.
Right.
So it's welfare improving for me, right? As a customer, as a consumer, we are always benefited from the competition among the sellers. But here what is happening, all these online platforms, they have a tacit collusion amongst themselves. So imagine the online algorithms are so smart that they can actually collude with each other and customize the packages for me, understanding my preferences, right? And there what is happening is that I am just falling prey to some sort of collusion effect or monopolizing effect, right? Why is it worrisome? Because as economists we often like to promote competition so that there is welfare balance, right? And that's where comes a major role to be played by game theory, because game theory formalizes this interaction. That if I choose to buy something and they want to sell something, right? What should I do and what should they do? What is the equilibrium behavior? Under various circumstances, what do I choose and what do they sell at what prices? But things are becoming more interesting because often we are not playing games with, as I said, with the human beings that's as such, right. But it's the algorithm where there is reinforcement learning in play. So that's how e-commerce market and game theory are kind of interconnected very deeply.
So sir, here often it is seen that the games that we build, those very small 2-player games, that the Nash equilibrium that we attain is usually not Pareto efficient, right? And although it may seem that it is an equilibrium, players can be better off at some other position.
Right.
So here the equilibrium that comes into place with this model, is that Pareto efficient? Is that the best thing that the economy can achieve?
Not really, exactly. So in fact what you are talking about is a classic example of Prison's dilemma, right?
Yes.
So, and to make it very simple, that if I am playing a game with another person and the idea is that whether I should cooperate with that person or compete with that person, right? And if I do collude with the other person and that person also wishes to collude with me, so basically we go into cooperation with each other, it's good for both of us. But what happens in the equilibrium is that I probably deviate from cooperation and I try to compete. So does the other person, right? And which is actually harmful for both of us. This kind of a model, although it is based on very stringent assumptions that we don't communicate and blah blah, right? Classically, but when we get into this kind of situation, especially when we are, let's say, playing a game online, when we are interacting with the e-commerce websites, it's often the case that our interactions are repeated, in the sense that imagine that if I really want to go and buy something from a shop, if the shop has a goodwill, it has built up a goodwill, and I like the products that I purchased from them, I might just go there again and again, right? Same might happen with some particular portal, right? If the portal is fair to me in some way, right, I'm happy with my transactions earlier, I would actually go for that particular portal again and again. So you can model this game as a repeated game, right? And what actually is impossible to achieve in a Prison's dilemma kind of a game, that cooperation, right? In fact, that's so general that each and every occasion we find this kind of a dilemma, whether to cooperate with a person or compete. We take this recourse of competition, right? Because that is something which is incentivizing me, because I can't trust the other person.
Yes.
But beauty is that if this interaction happens regularly over time, and I don't really know how many times, then it enforces some sort of cooperation over time. That becomes the equilibrium, right? So this is a very famous theorem in game theory, which is technical, but the essence is this: I may want to compete with you if I am seeing you for the first time and the last time. But if it is the case that both of us know that we will keep on interacting in the future, for both of us it's beneficial to cooperate. So exactly the same thing may happen for the online transactions as well. But this is something which is a very kind of, I would say, gray area, because somehow I feel that the research is still underway in this area, that these algorithms, pricing algorithms which are in place, they're very naive. They want to really understand how to exploit the consumers, right? They may not really completely understand that there is a goodwill effect also, which may kind of take place over time. So it may not, what I'm trying to say is that these algorithms may not have imbibed so far this goodwill effect of over time cooperation, right? So, but maybe this will be incorporated over time. Please understand that this area, that online portal purchase, or purchase over the e-commerce sites and everything, is a game. This has been recognized not too long back.
Right.
I believe that it's only with a group of scientists, economists in Toulouse School of Economics and several other places.
Okay.
So particularly this guy who's called Emilio Calvano, he and his group,
Okay.
they have published a paper in AER, I think in 2017 or so, where they actually explicitly modeled this game, this online purchase as a game.
Got it.
And the algorithms are the main players here, which are not really human beings in fact. Algorithms designed by human beings, but they're smart algorithms in the sense they're a reinforcement learning process. So the more and more I interact with the portal, the more and more they know about me.
Yes.
And more they want to exploit me. That's the idea. Now, how to inbuild some sort of cooperation here? I think that's an interesting question, but this may happen more with the brick and mortar shops. That's why some people still do prefer to go to brick and mortar shop and buy some stuff, even though it's probably not that cheap. Right. So this is a strange behavioral dilemma, but which can be beautifully modeled, I believe, using game theory.
Right. And I think so. One thing that we may need to take into consideration is that although we may think that they're colluding, but like for example, Myntra, Jabong, there may be a time that they were competing each other, and at that point of time, there was still a way to take consumers towards you rather than leave it to the other e-commerce platform, and that is where you have to keep into account what pricing strategy should you be keeping so that players don't go into other platforms. Like for example, if I would see something cheaper at Flipkart for the same brand, I would quickly jump from Myntra to Flipkart. So it may not be an infinite game, or you think it would still be an infinite game in general?
No, why is it slightly different from that kind of classical infinite game? Is because it's not only two agents, it's not only me and one particular portal. There is competition over there, as you mentioned that Flipkart is there, Amazon is there, right? A very simple heuristic is what you said, that if I want to buy a t-shirt, I'll just go to Myntra, I'll just go to Amazon, Flipkart, wherever it is the cheapest, I'll just go for it, right? But I think these platforms don't only rely on the pricing. This is the important thing. They also rely on several other soft information. This is something which we need to recognize. Classical economics models, as you be very well knowing, that these are price competition models.
Yes.
Right? I'm selling something which you are also selling, so whoever offers the cheaper price, the consumer will come to that. But what if beyond pricing there is something more which is appealing to the consumer? What about packaging? What about bundling? By bundling, what I mean is that if you buy this, then there is another product which you will get at a special discounted price. And how would this retailer know that what product to bundle with this? This will be actually known from your data analysis. As a consumer, you have visited the portal so many times that this algorithm is smart enough to understand what to club with this particular product to allure you. Right, and maybe Flipkart is giving it at a cheaper rate, but but Amazon is offering something more. And this kind of things, which we call framing effects. This is a term which has been coined by this very famous brain theorist called Ariel Rubinstein. Popular textbook, right? Yes. So he and I think his former PhD student, they have popularized this idea. I mean, there are now several research papers. The idea is that when you choose something, right, it's not only that particular product matters. There are lots of ancillary information sets which come with that, which influence your choice. So what may happen is that even though you prefer, let's say, a product X over product Y, you might be tempted to buy product Y over X because of these temptations, because of these other factors. In fact, there is a serious research going on with attention. There are so many platforms, so many products available, we cannot focus on everything. For instance, if you're browsing, you may just go to the first page and maybe second page, and then you stop your search. Unless you have filtered it according to, let's say, price highest to lowest or something like that, or some particular brands. These search items, the way they are displayed, it's strategic.
Right.
And maybe it's the case that after 2-3 pages you don't really search, but the one that you are really looking for is on the 4th page. So you don't even pay attention to the best one that you could have got purchased, right? You are actually buying something which is suboptimal for you.
Yes.
But something is forcing you to stop there, right? What is forcing you to stop there? Maybe some advertisement, maybe some bundling, maybe some other information which is making you deviate from your preference, right? So yes, I mean, these kind of things are there. I mean, situation is quite complex that way. You can understand probably, right? It's not really a simple repeated game that way.
Got it.
Right? There is of course a repetition in the sense that goodwill is there. Goodwill is a factor, but more so is other factors like these framing effects, what I am paying attention to, right? Also some sort of learning. By learning, what I mean is that the algorithm learns about me. I learn about the market. It's often the case that I buy some product and I realize that how good is this product. Then probably I don't really want to experience that product again. I want to go for something else. So there is love for variety, right? Which is again useful information for the markets to know.
Yes.
And they would love to know about it. And how will they come to know? Just by understanding your data. How long you're browsing. Well, which products you are paying a lot of attention to. They're very careful about it. Abroad, there are supermarkets where they have eye tracking machines. So basically, they track your pupil movement, that where you are putting your attention to, right? So accordingly, they arrange their shelves, right? If they want to sell something, they put it in a particular location where people look at the most.
And I think so. We have this famous example that is there outside India at least, that in supermarkets, especially when the dads they go out to buy diapers, etc. You will see beer exactly
absolutely,
there.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Exactly. I think these are the cases also in India these days.
Okay.
In the supermarkets, right?
Yes.
Right. These are standard marketing principles. But I think they are going beyond this. As I said, that this eye tracking, understanding the attention, right? What might be a tempting thing for a particular individual. Remember, this is something which is happening very recently. That earlier it was like I take a gross data, consumer data, and I try to formulate some principle for the mass. But no, now it's changing. It's individualized. It's very individualized. So I track each and every consumer, be it online, be it offline, and try to package even pricing or bundling everything for that particular consumer. You may understand it's a humongous task. That's why they're taking the help of the online platform, online algorithms, reinforcement learning.
Right.
Smart algorithms are there just to understand one particular individual consumer.
Absolutely.
They don't need human being there.
Got it. So one thing that I would like to understand, usually when we do this, we kind of do a course in game theory. We do not consider these exogenous factors as we mentioned, like taste, goodwill,
Right.
etc. It's just a game between two players. So how do we enforce these exogenous factors into the model? I mean,
A good question. Good question. And as you started by talking about the game theory course, yes, but what happens more so with a course like game theory, or so to say about classical theory in economics, be it micro theory or macro theory. What we start with, let's say in undergrad level, it's a benchmark model,
Exactly.
a benchmark theory, which is far away from reality, right? Even in game theory, if you start with the basic principles, it sets up a platform where people don't communicate with each other. They can't really talk to each other. They just choose their actions without letting the other person know, right? So you are voting somewhere, I am voting somewhere, but our utilities or the preferences are intertwined in some way, right? Somewhere or the other, what you are doing matters to me, what I am doing matters to you. These kind of settings we try to model with a very classical notion, in a very simple way, where really we assume that each and every agent, each and every player, right, is rational. In the sense, they only go for their own utility maximization. They want to do something which is the best for them.
right.
So how are thinking about this kind of situation that in the society we are all trying to do so selfishly that every action that we take is only for us, only for me, only for you. That may not happen that way, right? There are several other considerations, right? There is friendship, there is social affection, right? There is family, right? There are other considerations, right? You may just want to understand how game theory takes into account of that, right? Is it possible or not? It is possible. It is possible. In fact, these benchmark models are so strongly developed or in other words, they're so robust that yes, you may get very clean results with so much strong assumption that everybody wants to maximize his or her own welfare. But if you want to incorporate some of this, let's say, if you want to incorporate philanthropy, right, donation, for instance, in a game, right, can you model it? You can model it. These games are actually developed in such a robust manner that it has that kind of flexibility where you can introduce this kind of actions also, right? Similarly, what we are talking about, these are games, but these are not really the games what we teach in the undergrad level or in the preliminary introductory level, right? But if a student understands the very basic structure of game theory, it won't really take much time for them to understand how to incorporate these effects into a classical game. And there are, one thing is probably missing, or not missing, but which probably needs more development, textbooks, which need to incorporate these kind of examples more and more. There are books, by the way, but which are pretty advanced. So I think there are some books, if there will be some books on game theory which are for the undergraduate level students, but a bit of examples which are from contemporary markets like e-commerce, or this, what we are talking about, temptation, how it affects, right, online algorithms, how it is a game, right, what happens to the Prisoner's Dilemma game if I'm playing with a robot, right, how does goodwill play a role in that kind of a game. These kind of examples I think are not really there undergrad level text.
At least
no. Yeah, at least even I don't know
Yes.
of such kind of books,
Right.
Which I think should be there. Some lecture notes may be there, but formal textbooks are required.
I think it would be a good idea to read about that.
I agree
I
with
will
you.
definitely go back and
I agree with you.
So just one last question that I would like to ask is, so we talked about e-commerce, and one big part of e-commerce is marketing. Can we go ahead and incorporate game theory in some of the marketing strategies also?
Absolutely. So let's divide the entire analysis in two parts, right? So suppose I am an entrepreneur, right? Let's say I have a startup, and with the startup you can understand there is this time span over which I want to invest, and after that I am looking for some return. If I just want to see it as simple a setting like that, right? Obviously, who are the people that I want to interact with? They are customers, potential customers. This is a creation of the market, first of all. Let's say if it's a startup, then I am creating a new market.
Correct.
If you are a potential customer, first of all, I have to create the market in the sense that I have to let you know that, look, you might be a potential customer. That means the service or the product that I'm selling to you is something of interest to you. So you also have a willingness to buy this, which you may not have thought about.
Right.
You can understand there are several
Yes.
services and products which are like that.
Yes.
And if I can click there, then naturally I can create a market which is huge, and the potential will be very high, right? This is the first stage of the game, creation of the market, right? To do that, what I need to understand your preference. As a consumer, what would be your preference? What do you want? What is missing, right? If you have some willingness to buy some services and the products, from your past purchases, from your past actions, from your social interactions, can I actually find out what could be this missing market for you, which you would be tempted to buy or you would be tempted to consider? This is the first stage. This is the second stage of the game. Third would be obviously creation of after the market is created, what will be the instruments? Pricing, bundling, packages, and all these things, right? So that you can see, and within that there are advertisements, right? Like how to package it to you. By packaging, I don't mean how to package it physically, right? How to present an option to you.
Correct.
Right, you might be that kind of a person. By the way, you can just go for very simple examples like even the advertisements, celebrity endorsements, right? It's probably experimentally it has been observed that sometimes maybe you think of two products. One is an apparel, and the other is a sports gear. So some celebrities, maybe sports celebrities who are advertising for the apparels, it affects better.
Yes.
It actually impresses more than the sportsman endorsing some sports gear. So if there is a cross effect like that, then consumers get more influenced, right? So one has to understand these things. The entire setting is full of game theory principles from starting to the end of it. I'm sure some of it is being applied. So abroad there are various courses in marketing.
Okay.
There are top journals, marketing sciences or management sciences. They publish articles based on game theory principles, which are the entire analysis is carried out based on the game theory principles. what I again find missing is, how many entrepreneurs are reading those articles and applying those principles in their business? I guess not too many, right? Specifically in the economics like India, right? So game theory, its principles should be more accessible. That's a must. It's a treasure trove. But if I just restrict it to the board to teach the undergrad students or postgrad students in IIT or these kind of institutes, I don't think that the entrepreneurs would get to even understand, there are certain things even beyond traditional MBAs, right? Top management institutes have game theory courses. I'm afraid they are not very highly tweaked to allure the entrepreneurs that, look, I have these kind of principles, you may want to know some of it, you may want to apply some part of it. I don't see books or materials in that. So there is a huge potential, by the way, but I see that again as a missing market.
And I think this would interest a lot of students if they go ahead and maybe they can pursue PhD in game theory and go ahead and research more on these topics.
No, what I can tell you, communicate through this video is that this is a very rich area. And this is an area, by the way, it's not only restricted to economics people, right? Game theory, the basic modeling is mathematical.
Exactly.
And data analysis requires statistical tools and techniques. So it's actually multidisciplinary. People who have, mathematical bent of mind, or those who like statistics, right? Or even economics, of course, right? I think, they might be just interested to learn some of this and apply to various areas like marketing, consumer behavior, right? Analytics, right? All these things, and there's a huge potential. Yeah,
right.
I'll be very happy if more and more people get attracted to this area.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. I think so it was a very insightful session, and at the same time, I think so it creates more interest in the field of game theory.
I hope so.
And I hope that even I go ahead and I read some more things.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I remember just going through Osborne and not stepping beyond that, but I think I should be reading more on game theory.
Please do. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Very
you,
nice.
sir.
Very
Thank you
nice
so
talking
much.
to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.